Hello and welcome to Zemirot 0.6 devlog video. Zemirot is my Hobbiton-based tactics game. It's an open source project that lives on GitHub and is written as a Rust programming language. You can download latest dev builds or play the online version on itch.io. After the previous release, I have experimented a little bit with small weekly forum updates and short complimentary videos, but I have expectedly failed to make them regularly. Actually, I only managed to publish one such update. Drafts for second and third updates were never finished. So I decided to cancel my attempts at making weeklies and squashed all the weekly text draft together into a normal announcement post, and video drafts were also squashed into this video version of the post. So what does this release add to the game? The biggest additions of this release are the Renown system and fighter upgrades. Renown is the currency of the campaign mod that the player receives by winning battles and spends on recruiting and upgrading their fighters between battles. The term is obviously borrowed from Banner Saga. Updated campaign menu shows not only the player's current fighters and last battle casualties, but also the current Renown and a list of possible actions with their costs in Renown. The player is now free to choose more than one action if they have enough Renown. One upgrade option is chosen randomly for up to 2 upgradable fighters in the player's group. If the player does not like provided upgrade options, they can skip straight to the next battle that will be a little bit harder, and use their Renown later. Recruit candidates and the amount of received Renown after a battle are still coded in the word section of campaign's notes. That's likely to become a little bit more random in future versions. Fighter costs and the upgrade options are described in Edit Campaign Info config. Recruitment cost consists of a basic type cost plus a group size penalty, the player's fighters count. This penalty is added because the intended size of the group is 4 to 6 fighters. The upgrade cost is just the difference between the original and upgraded type costs. The campaign has some level of strategy. The player should think if it's better to recruit a new fighter or upgrade the existing ones. The player should never have enough Renown to buy everything they want. As for the new fighter types, most of the current upgrades can be split into 2 kinds. Elite fighters are generally faster, have more abilities and can use them more often. They feel overpowered at this iteration and most likely will be nerfed in the next releases. Heavy fighters are the opposite. They move slower, 2 move points instead of 3, have fewer attack points, but deal more damage and have more health points. Later we'll convert some of the extended health point into armor points, but this does not work at the moment because there are no enemies except for imp summoners that can do anything with an armored fighter. Basic fighter types were nerfed. Fewer strength point, accuracy, abilities, etc. But they're still useful. The idea is that the player should have fighters from all 3 kinds in their group. Slow heavies are supposed to be used as a devastating Iron Fist. Quick and agile elites are used as vanguard and flanks, and basic fighters are used to fight weak enemies and finish off wounded ones. Here are current upgrade trees. They have only 1 level for now, but I'm planning to add more nodes in future versions. Spearman still has jump ability and 2 tile attack range, but lost 1 reaction attack, 1 accuracy and 1 dodge point, only useful for defense. Elite Spearman has more health and 1 more accuracy and dodge points, and most importantly has an additional attack. The latter allows using him as the first fighter in a series of attacks, because he can move closer to enemies and instantly attack one of them from a safe distance, giving the initiative to the player. Heavy Spearman moves slowly, can't jump at all, but has 5 health and deals 2 damage. That's a lot considering his 2 tile attack range. Still only useful for defense, but is very effective in it. Swordsman has low health, lost 1 accuracy and doesn't have dash and rage abilities anymore, only the jump one. Elite Swordsman has the stats of an old swordsman, more health, more accurate and has all 3 abilities, jump, dash and rage. Heavy Swordsman, slow and has no abilities at all, but has 6 health, increased accuracy and greater attack damage, 3 points. Hammerman has 4 health points and low accuracy, lost heavy strike passive ability but still has his club and knockback abilities. Heavy Hammerman is slower, lost 1 attack point but deals up to 5 damage, breaks up to 3 armor, has lots of health, a heavy strike passive ability and both club and knockback abilities. Most powerful fighter, he can slay even a fully fresh imp summoner in a few strikes. Alchemist is a special type, because he can't attack directly. He lost all bombs except for the push bomb. Also, the cooldown of the heal ability was increased. Healer heals more points with the 2 turns cooldown and can throw only poison bombs. Also can do double moves in 1 turn for cases when the wounded fighter is on the other side of the map. Fire is his opposite. Can't heal anyone but can do mass distraction by throwing exploding and fire bombs and has basically 2 attack points. As you can see, sometimes the upgraded versions lose some of their abilities. These upgrades are more like a specialization and not just an improvement. The fighter focuses on smaller sets of skills. I also try to make fighter stats match their visuals, so the situation described in this HIO review, when the only unit that can jump was armored one, won't repeat. A basic fighter info screen was added. It's opened by clicking on a small eye button on the right from a fighter's type in the campaign menu. This screen allows the player to look up stats and abilities before recruiting or upgrading a fighter. Another gameplay change is possessions. Imp summoners can now possess imps to give them more action points for a few turns. The possessed status is visualized with a yellow lightning status icon. I'll talk a little bit later about those icons. On the beginning of their turn, possessed imps get 3 additional jockey points. Reminder that jockey points can be used as attack or move points and aren't removed when the agent receives damage. Possessed imps can run through the whole map, make a lot of attacks, and they won't stop on your action attacks until they're dead. So the player must look closely for potentially possessed imps and be ready to reposition fighters to form a little defense line. Possession looks like to be a bad name for one demon forcing a lesser demon to be more performing, so this ability and effect will likely to be renamed in future versions. There are many small visual improvements in this release. A tile under the cursor is highlighted now when using a mouse. It was requested by many playtesters. It makes no sense to do this with touch inputs, because the user will just constantly see the latest tile he touched, so the feature only works when input events delta movement isn't 0. Agent sprites are now flipped horizontally to match their action's direction. Weapon flashes are also now flipped when needed. I wanted to add this for a long time because previously humans were facing strictly to the right and imps to the left, so sometimes they were attacking each other backward. It's hard to actually miss while attacking a static target with a melee weapon in real life. Most of the misses are caused by the target's dodging moves, so simple target dodge animations when the attack misses were added to the game to display this. If any tile of a movement path is inside the attack range of an enemy agent with attack points, a reaction attack is triggered. If this attack succeeds, the movement is interrupted. A move point or a joker is spent even if agent hasn't actually moved anywhere. The starting tile is also considered a part of the path. This prevents agents from exiting a melee too easily. Jump and dash abilities exist to counter this. I like this mechanic, but sometimes it wasn't clear to playtesters what just happened. They clicked on a tile, but were attacked and can't move anymore. A help message is now shown when an agent's move is interrupted. With this release, agents finally get special sprite frames for some abilities. Sprite sets are configured now with the sprite's roll config. The empty string frame is considered the default frame. As the event visualizers don't know anything about specific engine types, the code usually checks if the sprite has some event-specific frame and only then adds an action node that will switch the sprite to that frame during its execution. Frames are stored inside the zscen sprite struct. I don't want to index a hash map with a string for every sprite on every frame, so the current frame lives in a special field drawable, and everything is stored as options to simplify frame swapping. To make the battlefield look more interesting, decorative explosion ground marks were added. Same as blood, they are slowly disappearing into transparency in 3 turns to avoid making the battlefield too noisy and unreadable. Icons for lasting effects were added so the player can quickly see a more detailed game state info. There are 3 lasting effects at the moment: poison, stun and possession. If there are more than one lasting effect applied to one agent, icons are stacked vertically. AIs of the summoner and bomber imps were tweaked to keep shorter distances, because chasing summoners through the whole map with slow heavy fighters is just boring. The explosion bomb ability was balanced. Explosions now destroy armor. This was done to balance this ability with the fire bomb, so the fire will be more useful for killing summoners. The club ability was balanced, its duration was reduced, and the fly-off effect was removed. This was done to better differentiate it with the knockback ability. An almost empty Rust formatted toml file was added to the repo to explicitly document the desired formatting. I also added a new inspiration section to the README with a list of games that inspire Cimarron. The game now has a text logo. The image was manually redrawn in a low poly style similar to game's Angular sprites, from a text written in the old London font. Not sure if it really fits the game. Surprisingly, many people say that it looks like something related to metal and not just a generic medieval font, but it will do for now. I've got the Oscarif Games domain and moved my devlog to it. I revived my Patreon page. I also created new social pages in addition to Twitter, Facebook and Wiki, and a bunch of forum threads and database pages in addition to itch.io. TickSource, Indie database, users Rust-Lang, GameJolt and GameDevRu. The initial plan was to post weekly updates to Patreon forums and catalog pages, but as I have said in the beginning of the video, the experiment with weeklies was cancelled, so I most likely will just post links to new version announcements there. Let's hope this will motivate me to make smaller releases more often. That's all news for today. Thanks for watching. Bye.